viewers, welcome back. As fears over a Russian invasion of the Ukraine looms, the G7 nations have now, that is the G7 that includes the US, UK, Canada, France, Germany, Italy and Japan, have warned of massive economic consequences through sanctions for Russia. So this is the latest in the diplomatic effort to curb anything untoward happening over there in the Ukraine. We have Abhishek Kapoor joining us. Abhishek, the G7 now getting involved with Russia and in this Ukraine crisis. What has the G7 warned Moscow about?
Well, the warning is very clear, Ankit. So far as the NATO or G7 agenda is concerned, it is clearly about making sure that Russia desists from any coercive action in terms of use of force that compromises the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine, which is a friendly nation so far as West is concerned now, and obviously an aspiring candidate to become a full-fledged member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which, by the way, post-Cold War has almost doubled in strength. At the time of Cold War, there were about 16 odd nation states that were members of NATO. Now it is at about 30 and 3 more aspiring, including Ukraine. So I think the West believes that a threat of sanctions like they exercised at the time of the 2014 crisis, the Crimea crisis with Russia, perhaps might work, might not work. But then there is a split. For example, Germany has refused to supply weapons to Ukraine. France believes that negotiation can still work, and that's why the Normandy format talks have been revived. Americans, of course, believe that they would make sure that Russian use of force is met with the adequate response. So that's how things are as of now. But then even if you go by the American intelligence sources, which are in public domain now, it's clear that for whatever invasion that they believe Russia could carry out, Russian forces at the border are about 70% of the level required. So I think we are still looking at a few days of time that the diplomats on both sides of the divide have, Ankit, to really thrash things out. There have been my personal takeaway would be that the Ukrainians themselves, led by President Zelensky, have been very conciliatory over the last 1 week, and that's something perhaps which gives hope that Europe might avert a war.
Absolutely, Abhishek. It's always good to know that there is a diplomatic effort still being put in, that a military solution is not what all sides are looking at. And also it's pertinent to note, like you mentioned, Germany, there the German chancellor is to visit both Kiev and Moscow. So undoubtedly it is a good thing that the G7 has also now stepped in, and hopefully we'll be able to have some kind of de-escalation without resorting to any kind of military means. Let's also now listen in to what some of the important people who are involved here have been saying throughout the day and beyond that on the crisis in the Ukraine.
As Russia gets into an eyeball-to-eyeball situation with Ukraine and the West, here's how the warlike deployment is looking. In Estonia, UK rocket launchers are on standby. In Lithuania, 4 Danish fighter jets have been deployed. In the Baltic Sea, a Danish frigate has been placed. In the United Kingdom, Apache attack helicopters have been deployed. In Poland, 150 troops of the light UK cavalry squadron are in place. In Romania, 4,000 French troops, UK RAF squadrons on standby. In Bulgaria, Spanish jets are on standby. 2 Dutch F-35 jets have also been sent. In the Black Sea, a Spanish warship has been placed. A UK Type 45 destroyer has also been pressed. United States of America has placed 8,500 US troops on high alert with Russia in mind. As far as Russia and its allies go, Belarus included, a build-up of over 1 lakh troops, tanks, artillery, missile systems on standby in border towns, and all locked and loaded.